Happy Monday, members of the Altcoin Buzz Army. We're starting the week off with some excellent price performance here. The whole market is up. In fact, we've achieved a new all-time high in terms of total cryptocurrency market cap. Ethereum, of course, is the story of the day. It's achieved a new all-time high, blasting above previous resistance, which we all thought was going to offer at least a little bit more of a challenge. $3,000, of course, is what I'm talking about. ETH blasted above 3K, blasted above 3,100, just about hit 3,200, and now is kind of consolidating a bit. I don't so much care about the unit price of Ether. As you guys know, I've been championing this asset for years now for a lot of big reasons that we're going to get into, macro level reasons. But here's what's impressive to me is that when you take a look at Ethereum's market cap, it's so undeniable at this point. We're once again on companiesmarketcap.com, listing all of the world's most lucrative, I suppose, by market cap assets and companies and precious metals. You saw Bitcoin up there firmly in the top 10. You have things like Palladium, but get this, Ethereum is now number 27 at $363.7 billion. In these last 24 hours, Ethereum has jumped ahead in terms of the totality of its value. Ethereum has jumped ahead of the Home Depot, Bank of America, Walt Disney, Nestle, as well as Procter and Gamble. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that, yeah, this is Ethereum. That's not just a Dogecoin. That's not just a silly FOMO asset. That's the digital oil of the digital age. And all these reasons we're going to take a look at today. We're very excited about the fact that, of course, Ethereum has broken above $3,000. This is going to be more of, I think, a contemplative video. You can tell my energy is a bit more zen. I feel like Ethereum has come into its own. And for the longest time, this was supposed to be this key point of resistance. And then above $3,000, all the analysts were saying that it's off to the races after that. It's going to be a steady climb till 10K, and now even 10K, which we quoted the other day in our video. You can check that out. We quoted as Ethereum, that's almost a number that's programmed into the simulation. Ethereum will get to $10,000. We provided 10 reasons for the fact that Ethereum would be soon valued at 10K. And now all of a sudden, that's a number that is almost insignificant. People are already talking about 20K, 40K in a lot of instances. Guys, if you like this kind of content, we cover Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency, and altcoins, of course. You may be watching this on Altcoin Buzz. You may also be watching this on our new channel, Altcoin Buzz News. We'll be discussing that as well in today's video. But either way, be sure to like and subscribe to Altcoin Buzz. So if you were like me, you stayed up on Sunday night into the wee hours of early Monday morning, I'm talking 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and you were watching the very impressive price performance of ETH, of Ethereum, of course, again, now worth more than the Home Depot, than the Bank of America, than Walt Disney, than Nestle, and then Procter and Gamble. Last week, we talked about how Ethereum surpassed in value PayPal and Platinum. It's moving up. I mean, by this metric here on companiesmarketcap.com, if you eliminate things like Palladium, I believe, and gold, which are listed higher up here, as well as silver, Ethereum would be the equivalent of the 24th largest company in the world. And that's actually also including Bitcoin on the list. If you eliminate Bitcoin, then Ethereum, as of right now, is the 23rd largest, not that it's a company, but it's an entity that's equivalent to the 23rd largest company in the world globally, not just the US, not just one geography or economy or another, but globally across the entire world. And very soon, Ethereum will be bigger than NVIDIA, the chip manufacturers, United Health, MasterCard, and all of these other giants, all of these other titans of industry. So this is really much, I think, a milestone for Ethereum in that it's coming into its own. You're seeing a lot of headlines that, yes, the price performance has been great. Ethereum is now above $3,000, hurrah and whatever, throw your hats in the air, that's fine. I've been, speaking with friends this morning. I think there's a more significant shift in the tone of some of the coverage that we're seeing, and people are kind of realizing that Ethereum is not a joke. Ethereum is, not just some asset that a speculative asset that you can make some money on. There's really something to this. And for those that are taking the time, for the first time, the lay person that may not be familiar with crypto, and that's fine. Many are entering the space every day. But for that person that is less knowledgeable about what Ethereum is, they're diving into it and they're just discovering this wealth, this intricate ecosystem of just unimaginable potential that the media is not telling them about. And more people are waking up to this. Case in point right here. I opened my Twitter this morning on this Monday morning, and below, first of all, Tim Hortons. You can't get away from Tim Hortons in Canada. I'm so embarrassed that this is a promoted ad at the top of my Twitter page. Like, what a joke. I'm not the biggest fan of Tim Hortons in the world, but more importantly, right below Tim Hortons, trending in Canada, Ethereum, hashtag Ethereum right now with 61.6 thousand tweets. I don't know, depending on where you live. Maybe it's the United States, maybe it's Europe, maybe it's other parts of the world, Asia, Africa. I don't know. Maybe Ethereum is trending in your neck of the woods, maybe it's not. But this is, of course, like new all-time high territory, price discovery mode, which always catalyzes discussions. And discussions mean that people are going to dive deeper into the asset, and they're going to want to learn more about it. There's also a lot of news that we'll get into here in more detail, but there's this nice kind of juxtaposition right now between the increasingly successful asset class that is Ethereum and this very ominous, I think, elephant in the economic room, which is the slow creep of inflation. This very insidious set of observations here that unfortunately are only getting worse and worse and worse. You look at things like the staple commodities. You look at things like steel futures, corn syrup, wheat futures, lumber, for God's sakes. If any of you are in construction and you purchase lumber or timber or building supplies, in the case of lumber, I think it's up something like 4 times in the last 12 months or a year and a half or so. Many of these other, basic commodities, basic staples, I believe sugar is another one, are just through the roof in price. And they're through the roof in price because inflation has to be reflected in one way or another. There's all kinds of other discussions we can have about inflation. We can talk about the world of fine art collection. We can talk about the skyrocketing price of real estate assets in many countries. My home country of Canada, for example. You look at you want to laugh. You want to see how much of a joke, how much of a meme reality is. Go take a look at some of the high-end condo real estate prices in Toronto or Vancouver. Again, in my home country of Canada. If it's a market you're unfamiliar with, I guarantee it, you won't believe your eyes when you see how ridiculous some of these listings are. To a certain extent, we've talked about this before, I believe those are stores of value. People see real estate as a safe haven, and it's one of the last safe havens left because this is what's happening in the world. Take a look at this, courtesy of Bitcoin Archive. I always appreciate BTC_archive providing us with very kind of astute observations. Let's put it that way. Very excellent observations that are cultivated in just the right way. They're pointing out that Danske Bank in Denmark is now charging negative interest rates. That's negative 1% for all balances over 100,000 kroner, or about $16,000. It was bad enough that if you look at what some of the American banks are doing, JP Morgan, Chase, Citibank, I think like the best interest rate you can get, this is just off the top of my head, but I believe the best rate you can get is somewhere in the neighborhood of, we're talking about annual interest appreciation, like 0.1%, unless you're like an ultra tens of millions of dollars in net worth VIP. Unless you're at that level, you're talking about 0.1%. What good does that do when inflation is 2, 3, 4, 5%? And yes, the government can come out and they can tell us that, don't worry, the CPI, the Consumer Goods Index, suggests that we're nowhere close to 5%. We're above 5%. We're easily above 5%. And all of these last couple years, it's been stimulus this and money printing that and quantitative easing, trillions of dollars at a time. Now there's renewed discussions about a new set of trillions of dollars in stimulus funds and recovery packages. I don't see any end in sight, and I think you'd be naive to assume that this doesn't have a tangible quantitative impact on the economy. So this isn't the United States. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Denmark here. But think about that. You have $16,000 American equivalent in your bank. You're not accruing interest at all on that. And you're punished for holding $16,000 in your bank. So 1% of 16,000 would be $160. So you put $16,000 into a bank account with negative interest. Guess what? The next year, you open up your account, you have $15,840, if my math is correct. You're losing money. You're losing money by holding it in this particular bank account. You're punished for being a fiscally conservative, responsible saver. Imagine if you have $100,000. Imagine if you have $1 million or tens of millions of dollars. We're kind of verging now on scary territory, in my opinion, when it comes to this looming threat, this very ominous threat of inflation that the world doesn't know how to react to. Enter Ethereum. Enter an asset class that I think arguably has solutions for many of the issues that we have. And I don't often promote, if you want to call them competitors on YouTube. I don't think Raoul Pal is a competitor necessarily, but I'm going to throw a lot of love his way and throw him a lot of flowers right here. If you haven't checked out this video here, I guess you can't see the title. Raoul Pal's Introduction to the Exponential Age. There are a few people in this space that I think will, at a bottom line level, increase your ability to earn, increase your ability to prepare for the next year, for the next 5-10 years, that will be able to influence you in such a way that your retirement, that the rest of your life really can be impacted to the upside in a very positive way. None of this is financial advice, of course, but when I'm talking about those individuals that I think really do carry that kind of clout and that kind of knowledge that is just universally beneficial, I think of the Raoul Pals of the world. I think of the Michael Saylors as well. But Raoul Pal right here, in about 90 minutes, by the way, of just like extemporaneous, off the top of his head speech. It's very admirable. I don't see any notes. I don't see any reference. He's just talking about his experiences for 90 minutes over the course of these last 10 years or so, his journey into Bitcoin, his journey then into altcoins and subsequently into Ethereum, starting in, I think he said December of 2020. So it's been relatively recent. But his observations in this space, I mean, I don't throw the word genius around very often, but this is a genius telling you about a convergence of factors, and I'm talking about like 100 different factors, all of which have their own vectors, their own magnitudes, their own strengths, their own direction, and all of these 100 factors are converging, right? That's like a current converging into one giant tsunami, right? It's this tsunami of fintech, of a digital transformation, of Ethereum becoming the base layer for reality as we know it, almost, of DeFi banking. All of these factors coming together, and they're creating this tidal wave that you cannot ignore. And I tweeted about this. I feel like it's the kind of thing. It's this unstoppable juggernaut, this wave, this momentum that is slowly building. And you have two choices: those that are into this space, like you all members of the Altcoin Buzz Army, that are tuning in, that are curious, that are keen about the world, and that want to know more. You can ride the wave, and some of you have already been riding the wave, and maybe you've been riding the wave for years. But I think if you ignore it, it's at your own peril, and you either hop on board and use that momentum to your advantage, or you get utterly and hopelessly swept away. I just want to highlight here some of the points that Raoul made. Again, 90 minutes of extemporaneous speech. I mean, just dropping knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb. Not subjective, not qualitative, all based in quantitative reality, hard metrics here. I don't think I've ever been this impressed with a video essay, a vlog, whatever you want to call this, since actually I saw the interview between Raoul Pal and Michael Saylor. That was 2 hours that I must have rewatched 10 times. So, and I recommend that. I'm going to link to that, in fact, in the description below. But a little bit about what Raoul discusses here. I had to take some notes because I guess he's a better speaker than I am. I have trouble sometimes maintaining my train of thought when it's a series of points that I have to address. Raoul talks about the fact that, first of all, there are multiple reasons that turned him on to Ethereum. And just to kind of go through a few of them, we don't have to discuss the 100 different vectors that are influencing the world right now, that are strengthening, that are feeding that tsunami. But just to discuss a few of them, we know that Visa has partnered with Ethereum. That's number one. That's old news. Why the price didn't spike to $5,000 when that was announced, I don't know, but that's already old news. We already know that the traditional payment rails, the traditional payment companies and systems are getting on board with Ethereum because they don't want to be left behind. They're trying to ride that tsunami wave. They have no choice ultimately. This is adapt. This is survival, do or die, right? That's number one. Raul addresses that. Raul addresses the fact that related to that, you have what happened some months ago now with the Office of the Comptroller of Currency, who said effectively, that stable coins have now been approved. We're talking all the different national fiat sovereignty pegged stable coins, so USDC, for example, and a whole bunch of others. Those have now been approved as the settlement layer for bank transfers for American banks. In other words, bank transfers are slowly instituting regulations that are going to be able to bypass SWIFT, this dinosaur technology system that, although it's reliable, I'll give the fact that SWIFT is reliable, I'll give it credit. SWIFT has been around since the 1970s. It is slow and needlessly expensive. And there's another YouTuber, I can't remember off the top of my head, it may have been The Modern Investor, but he made the point that what other piece of technology, like even low-end technology, would you use today that was created in the 1970s? You wouldn't sleep on a mattress that was built in the 1970s, that was manufactured in the 1970s. And yet this anachronism from that period of time is the technology that's responsible for our banking transfers. Well, as much as that may have you scratching your head, it's changing. And it's changing with this approval that's been granted by the OCC. Again, the stablecoin network, that whole system is now the underlying network that's going to be approved for settlement layers, for settlement transactions between all of the American banks. Ethereum, of course, is the spinal cord, is the structure, is the platform on which all of that is going to take place. All of those stable coins exist by virtue of Ethereum. That alone to me is revolutionary. That alone to me is like the biggest piece of news I think I've ever conveyed on this channel. And I keep going back to it and I feel like it's still not necessarily appreciated, which is fine. This is all kind of emergent qualities that we're discovering together and people are waking up to this at different paces. But to me, that I can't get over that. Raul talks about that. Raul talks about the fact that DeFi. So going back to what we saw just a moment ago, courtesy of Bitcoin Archive here, you put your money in the bank. If you have a certain amount, if you're above, in this case, $16,000 with Danske Bank, you're penalized for that. It's punitive. You lose money. And that's saying nothing of inflation. You lose 1% just as a penalty that the bank is going to impose, but then you're probably also losing at least 5% on inflation. Enter DeFi, right? The system upon which Ethereum, the system that basically is using Ethereum to create a whole new paradigm of banking. You get into DeFi, you hold some of those USDCs, some of those USDTs, those tethers, those PACs, those other stable coins. You're earning 10, 11, 12, 13, 14%. So even if the value of ultimately the underlying fiat currency is being depreciated via inflation, you're still gaining significant and often double-digit percentages in the form of your interest returns. That doesn't exist in the traditional banking sector. And, although not everybody in the world is banked, there are billions of people that are unbanked. There are still billions and at least hundreds of millions of people in the world that use banking that I think are waking up to this idea of, even if you have $100,000 in the bank, even if you have $10,000, let's say you have 10,000 US dollars in the bank and you're being conservative, that's just your rainy day fund, you're doing nothing with it. And I'm talking, let's say, for example, to the American citizens out there that are watching, you have 10 grand in the bank. You're fiscally conservative. You've been saving that up. It's your rainy day fund. You don't really want to touch it. You don't have to. Why not just convert that into whatever eligible stable coin and earn 10, 12, 13, 14% interest on it? You do nothing with it, that $10,000 the next year, guess what? It's going to be $11,400. I mean, can you imagine if you have more? If you have $100,000 in the bank, if you have $1 million in the bank, you have $1 million in the bank, you convert that into USDT because you have no necessarily desire or need to maintain it in US dollars. Convert $1 million US dollars into USDT or an equivalent stable coin. Just by doing nothing, the very next year, you'll accrue $140,000. It's more than a safety net, it's an income strategy. This is passive income. If you have sufficient means, you can be literally living off the interest that these DeFi systems provide. Look at the total value locked in DeFi today on the heels of Ethereum's new all-time high, $72.42 billion. This is going to hit $100 billion. It's going to hit $500 billion. It's going to hit $1 trillion and plus. DeFi is one of these, I'd say, one of the strongest vectors in that tsunami that's about to take over the world, that's about to engulf us all. And we have to either ride the wave. We can ride the wave and just enrich ourselves to ridiculous degrees, or we can be left behind. It's not a destructive wave in the sense we're not going to be killed and drowned, but it's the sort of wave that is an opportunity. And I think it behooves all of us to take advantage of it as much as possible. All right, so that was his point, Raul's point about DeFi. It relates, of course, to banking interest rates and banking percentages. As we saw, there's no other competitor in traditional banking that would be able to remain solvent if they offered anything close to that. Anything close to that. I mean, we are literally two orders of magnitude above, and arguably infinite orders of magnitude above what the banks offer, since their rates are now negative. But think about a JP Morgan that I mentioned earlier, for example. Again, I'm kind of ballparking it here, but I believe their rates were on the order of 0.1%. We are literally above two orders of magnitude more. One order of magnitude would be 1%. Another order of magnitude would be 10%. 14% in DeFi. That is two orders of magnitude plus higher than what the competitors are offering. And this is saying nothing of NFTs, non-fungible tokens. I don't like NFTs when they boil down to pretentious hipster art. I've been very vocal about this in the past. It's not my style. It's not my taste. But I recognize the fact that there's much more to it. NFTs are a revolution that are unfolding in front of us right now. It's been extremely speculative, and people are kind of feeling it out with, that the Beeple kind of style art, NFTs. There's much, much, much more to it than that. And I do appreciate the true value of the use case, the pragmatism of NFTs. Raul talks about how that revolutionizes everything. It revolutionizes the artists. It revolutionizes the influencers. It revolutionizes estates that have any degree of valuable memorabilia or souvenirs or whatnot that they either want to issue, that they want to create, or that they want to destroy. It cuts out, if you can imagine, like the record executives. It cuts out the people that are managing talent. Let's use the example of musical talent. Raul provides sort of an anecdote whereby you can be a musical artist and you can reward fans on an individual basis. Let's say you have some super fan that you want to reward and they want to make it mutually beneficial. They want to pay you $1 million for something. You can create and deliver to them a non-fungible token in the form of an exclusive song, or any kind of creation that only they have the rights to. And that goes all the way up the level of complexity. It can be something very simple, very inexpensive, that's distributed at a mass level, or it can be ultra rare, ultra valuable, that is really serving the long tail of the demographic there. We're only just beginning the surface of this. Raul also talks about the importance of digital virtual worlds and realities and marketplaces that are developing. NFTs are suited for that perfectly. And so as much as I disparage NFTs, I try to keep it lighthearted sometimes. I realize that they're here to say we've only scratched the surface of their potential, because we're discovering things every day when it comes to how they can be applied and how they can be used. Finally, the most important part about this video, and the name kind of gives it away. So this is titled Raul Pal's Introduction to the Exponential Age. The most important thing that we're seeing here is really the manifestation of Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law suggests that as you have a network of any type, right? As you have a network, you think of a Facebook, for example. The only reason Facebook is valuable effectively is because it's achieved a high enough user base, right? And Metcalfe's law suggests that the value of any network is proportional with the square of the users, suggesting, of course, that the more people get on board, the more inherent value that network will be able to support. For all these reasons and more, guys, I highly encourage you to watch this video. Again, I'll link to it in the description below. I don't throw the word genius around loosely, but there are a few people in this space that are geniuses and that are worth listening to. These guys are worth taking a day off work and just listening to. Absorb their messages. It's free. It's available on YouTube. I really do feel that this is worth your time. This is a long hour-and-a-half video, but it flies by, and it is so jam-packed. It's concentrated to a ridiculous degree. It's extremely dense, not in a bad way, not in a way that you won't be able to understand, but it's nutrient dense. It's full of insightful, positive messaging that I think it's worthwhile to dig into. It behooves you guys to check it out. So once again, not to gush too much over Raul here, but kudos to him on a terrific video. And all these reasons and more, of course, this is why we're seeing today's all-time high with Ethereum. Right now, a little bit down versus the all-time high that it set earlier, but who cares? You're going to set new all-time highs. You're going to dip right now, $3,114, still up over 6% on the day. As you can see here, we did hit an all-time high just below $3,200, so $3,199. And, at this point in the video, I think I was going to discuss a little bit more about future price projections, because what was in vogue just a few days ago, talking about $10,000, now seems too conservative, to be honest. People are throwing around $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. I mentioned the other day, I just kind of threw it out there, in the long term, is six figures possible for Ethereum? Not in this cycle, in my opinion, no. But in the future, at some point, yes. In fact, I feel that would be almost inevitable. There's very little anymore that would surprise me when it comes to Ethereum, for all these reasons that we mentioned. Ethereum is the leading vector in that tidal wave, in that tsunami of exponential digital fintech changes. It's about to sweep over whatever landmass you find yourself on. It's not going to hurt you, but you do have an opportunity to ride the wave. Now, I've kind of gone on long enough. I don't want to talk about future price predictions and 40,000 Ethereum and other details, because we do have some news to get to. But let me know in the comments below if you've jumped on that Ethereum tsunami. Let me know at what price you jumped on the Ethereum tsunami. When I started with Altcoin Buzz, I was creating videos, and Ethereum was priced at the time at about $80 at one phase in my first year of the work that I did with Altcoin Buzz. And I just remember, almost by chance, I got lucky. You can't necessarily forecast what's going to happen down the line, but that's when I loaded up. Month after month after month after month, I loaded up. And at the time, I figured if it ever gets back to what was previously the all-time high, about 1,400, then I'll be happy. I figured we can at least achieve 1,400 again. Needless to say, I'm much more bullish than I was, but at the same time, I'm very happy that I loaded up at that $80 mark. And by the way, I've continued to load up. When it hit $100, I bought more. When it hit $1,000, I bought more. I haven't yet bought more at $3,000, but on the next dip, I will be buying more, because Ethereum is the future, I think, any way you slice it. So let me know, guys, in the comments below. Are you on the wave? Are you on the tsunami? What was your entry point? And what are you going to be doing with your Ethereum? Is it a forever hold? Is it something that you're going to cash out at one point? Let's open up the discussion, but a big kudos to those that have held on to the strong hands out there. I hope it changes your life. Okay, all my Ethereum gushing aside here, let's get into a little bit of news at the tail end of the video. I want to highlight some projects that we're going to be discussing in more detail in the near future. These are upcoming IDOs that we have our eyes on. Not in any particular order, and we're not going to go into them in any particular detail here, but I do want to point out here argoapp.live. So Argo, this is the site that we're on. That's one of the four that we're going to be discussing soon. We also here have Trade Race Manager. Again, these are upcoming IDOs that we have our eye on, that we're pretty excited about. You're going to be hearing more about them in the near future. Here we have Plethori, the first decentralized cross-chain investment platform for open trading and the creation of trustless ETFs. And finally, we have NFTify. So you get the idea, turning things into NFTs. You can NFTify something. I think that's how you say it. Fuel the rise of the digital content world. NFTs are irrefutably the future. And for those companies that are doing it right, I think that grants you a spot on the Altcoin Buzz radar. If you're doing something dynamic, if you're doing something innovative with NFTs, then the world is on a platter for you, because this, as we saw previously, is the direction that we're moving in. Just launching in at the tail end of this video, let's discuss some quick updates here. We have Harmony 1, Harmony Protocol updates here. So Kratos Harmony.1, amazing. Quote, elegant front end for Harmony Protocol Blockchain Explorer V2 is in the works. Let's innovate. Harmony core developers have created new modular architecture for Explorer V2, Harmony Blockchain Data Indexer for scalability. You can read more about that on gitcoin.co. Engine is also in the news today, one of our favorites, and we haven't really talked about Engine in a while, but they've been slow and steady performers. They've been doing very well. At Engine, of course, on Twitter. JumpNet can now be easily integrated into WordPress, so you can create your own NFT storefront. Engine started out, I think, as our favorites, one of our favorites at Altcoin Buzz, because of the simplicity and the elegance of its wallet. It was a leader in that space. And if you're not paying attention now to what Engine is doing with NFTs, to a lesser degree, but similar to what I was saying with Ethereum and the tsunami and all that, like you should be paying attention to what Engine is doing with NFTs. Let's just put it that way. Because as much as we were impressed with their wallet functionality, we are equally, if not more, impressed when it comes to these non-fungible token initiatives that are coming out of Engine. These are the guys that are going to take those more pragmatic, sober use cases and develop this future that's waiting for us. That's this potential that's waiting to unfold. Engine is at the forefront with what they're doing here. Quoting My Metaverse, do you want to sell NFTs through your own website? Well, if you're building with WordPress, today's your lucky day. Our MetaBasket plugin is now open source, so you can use it, build upon it, and rebrand it with no limitations. Here's how it works. You can check out more information. I do encourage you guys to check this out. All the links, of course, will be in the description below. A big kudos to Engine. This is a significant development. Fuse Network is in the news. In fact, they're hiring Fuse_Network here on Twitter. Are you participating in the latest hashtag liquidity mining program on FuseSwap? Huge rewards. Wow, up to 250% APY are up for grabs. How to participate? You can check out the link that's included here. And don't forget, they are hiring. If you all members of the Altcoin Buzz Army have some skills that would be able to contribute to the efforts over at Fuse Network, then get in touch with them. It'd be my pleasure to connect you both. You know, if that's the case and you have some skills that you can offer, then you may as well be part of this space. There's nothing else like it in the world. Everything else is an opportunity cost. That's what I've been telling my friends in some of the traditional finance spaces or just other markets and everything. It's like, look, you guys are good at what you do your own thing. I'm not telling you one thing or the other, but there are no returns like crypto returns. And at this point, as Michael Saylor has said, the S&P 500 is a good bet because that's a good, 25, 30% compound annual growth rate over the last 10 years. So that at least has to be your standard. That's a safe bet. That's the conservative side of things. But crypto eclipses that. And if you're not in crypto, then you're putting your money into what is ultimately an opportunity cost. You're impoverishing yourself by not exposing yourself to this space. You're irresponsibly short, in other words. A bit of a weird tangent there, but yeah, if you're interested in what Fuse is doing, of course, they are launching some great initiatives. They're doing great work. Get in touch with them. They appear to be hiring. Altcoin Buzz IO on Twitter tested the first aggregator contracts on Uniswap v3 and minted liquidity pool NFTs with single-sided liquidity on Ethereum Kovan testnet with ETH and DAI on v3.unbound.finance. Uni, we talked about Uniswap, of course, is one of our top 5 picks the other day. Coins to watch out for in May of 2021. Integration here with Unbound has been very successful so far. You guys can check out, in addition, of course, to our Trade Signals Telegram group, we have a Unbound Finance Trade Telegram group. It's part of that comment that I always pin to the top of the comments. You can check that out below. Again, I pin that to the top of the comments section. You're very welcome to join us there in that discussion. Never financial advice, but kind of a collective discussion, trade signals, project updates, that kind of thing. And then more so project updates for the Unbound Telegram group. But you're very welcome to join. What a wild day, guys. So much happening in this space. Again, kudos to all the long-term holders out there. Kudos to all the strong hands. It never stops, right? The news never stops. It seems to keep getting better and better. My recommendation, therefore, is that you keep following us on all the regular social media channels. Keep checking back into altcoinbuzz.io for all the latest. As promised, I want to discuss the fact that you may be watching this video on our new channel, Altcoin Buzz News. We're going to be continuing our steady upload of videos both on Altcoin Buzz Classic, right? Altcoin Buzz, just the traditional YouTube channel. We're going to be devoting only the news segments to now perhaps a more streamlined, if you're looking for more just informative, a steady resource for just simply news content. Altcoin Buzz News is the new YouTube channel. So whether you're watching on one or the other, you can subscribe, like, share to both, in fact. Regardless of what you're watching, none of this is financial advice. We do not offer financial or investment advice, not in our articles, not in our videos, not on Altcoin Buzz, not on Altcoin Buzz News. However, of course, many of you people are investing, you members of the Altcoin Buzz Army. I'm not naive. Of course you are. But, it's your responsibility to be responsible. My only advice that I will give is don't invest anything that you're not willing to lose. Assume it's going to go to zero and you're going to lose 100% of it and be comfortable with that. But if you do choose to invest, I wish you all the very best of luck. Ethereum is changing the world. DeFi is changing the world. cryptocurrency and altcoins are changing the world. I hope you change with them. I hope they enrich you to ridiculous proportions and that you go out and you do good in the world. That is my genuine wish. And to that end, I wish you fortune and prosperity, members of the Altcoin Buzz Army. So most importantly, however, stay safe on this Monday. Have a great start to your week. As always, we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.